Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another webinar session organized by the African Leadership University. I'm your humble host, Gislaine Japa from Cameroon, and our topic of the day is career development as a tool to guide students make better career choices. But more specifically, we'll be looking at career development at the African Leadership University. With that being said, I'd like to move over to introduce the experts of the career development world and let them tell us what career development is all about. But before we move on to them introducing themselves, we'll be taking questions which we will answer after their brief introduction and presentation. Thank you.
Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Theodore Sutherland from Ghana. I work with the career development team. And my colleague here, Abba,
is also from Ghana, and I also work with the career development team. Happy to be here and speak to you all.
We have a student in our midst. Olivier, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, I'm Olivier Ndiaye. I'm a second year student from Senegal, and I'll be very happy to share with you my experience with career development.
Fantastic. So this evening, we're really excited to be with you and talk to you a little bit about career development, what that looks like at ALU, why that exists, and what the experience has been for students who've done internships with us as ALU students. So you get a full view from the different people on the line, and like Gislaine mentioned, you also have the opportunity to ask questions during the course of the presentation, as well as at the end. We'll take a few, and if we don't get to any, we can probably tweet you back afterwards. So let's jump right into it. I think I'll start off with a quick story. So I was lucky enough to go to university in the States. I went to one of the top 25 liberal arts colleges in a small state called Maine. At college, I did internships every single year I was there. I did my internship in the first year in a small tech company doing data entry. My second year, I did an internship with an investment bank. My third year, I did an internship in Liberia with the mayor of the capital city. And then my fourth year, when I graduated, I got the job just before graduation, actually, with an investment bank in New York. Now, the point at my university senior year or final year of university, where I was looking around and really excited about my job offer, I realized I was only one of 20% of my class that had actually gotten a job before graduation. Now, that statistic is actually unusual because in most universities, even in the States, the average is between 10 to 20% of the graduating class that find a job before graduation. The process of finding a job before graduation, I think, it's not coincidental, right? Jobs don't just drop and everybody just chooses to pick. Employers, as you go into the interviews, are asking you questions like, what work experience do you have? What have you done to prove that you can add value in a professional context beyond the academic assignments you've been submitting for the last 4 years of your life? You have people who are partially paralyzed can't even apply to things because they don't know what to apply to. They've never had to think about what's important to them, whether it's money or whether it's having impact or what's the trade-off between those two, what are they good at, they're just not sure. So in many ways, getting to the point where as a university student, I realized that universities aren't set up to help people think about life after university. They're set up very deliberately and understandably so from their origins 300 years ago to make sure that life on campus was isolated from the rest of the world so you could focus on your education. And in the context within which we are in as an African continent, with all of our diverse countries and economies, is that we can't afford to wait until university final year before we are thinking about what kind of impact do we want to have? What are the pathways that could potentially help us get there? What are the opportunities that are available in order to get into work, into graduate school, to prepare us to become the kinds of leaders we imagine for the continent? So with ALU, we decided that as a university, we weren't going to wait until the final year where we start supporting our students to think about life after graduation. From the get-go, we want our students who enter ALU to think through how do they use the next 4 years of their lives here to plan more strategically for life after graduation. Thinking backwards from what kind of roles do they want to play within the continent, understanding what the expectations are of the professional world that they will enter at some point after graduation. And importantly, what are some of the ways they can start learning about themselves while they're on campus and getting opportunities to practice those skills and practice those spaces so that they can make informed decisions about where they go on to after graduation. So that was where we started from when we were redesigning and reimagining the university model. You'll see on the slide how career development fits into the ALU learning journey quite deliberately. At most universities, internships are something that are well known on campus, but we've actually designed internships to be part of our learning experience. So the way that you'll see on the slide, if you can't see them, I'll talk through them briefly. Assuming you're going through the 4-year degree program offering at ALU, at the end of each year, you'd have spent, each academic year, you'd have spent about 8 months on campus and about 3 to 4 months in an internship. You'd therefore have the space to, in between your academic years, get a chance to go and practice the skills that you just learned over the last academic year and see how relevant they are within the real world context. So you put your skills to practice. Now, the great thing about that is when you come back into your second year, you actually have moments to think about, wow, I just went into working with an organization where I was asked to do accounting, and I had no idea how to even start reading a balance sheet. It creates a sense of understanding of the kinds of skills you want to focus on from your academic experience and make you a whole lot more focused and mature as you're going back through the rest of your academic experience over the next few years. Secondly, it also helps you build a significant amount of confidence, knowing what you're actually able to do in the real world before you graduate, so that when people like employers or even graduate schools are asking you about the ways in which you have demonstrated your passions, the ways in which you have demonstrated value outside of a classroom context and taking exams, you have tangible examples to share with them. And we'll hear some of this as we go through the internship stories a little later with my colleague Abba and with Olivier as well. So that's how the vision of career development came about and the way in which we then designed it into the ALU curriculum. Now, what that looks like tangibly, there are 4 key ways that we imagine supporting students through in order to prepare for life after graduation. The first is exposure. The second is preparation. The third is about how we give them opportunities to practice. And the fourth is about how to build a powerful network. On the first point of exposure, I think similarly to a conversation I was having with one of my best friends from college, he has now reached a point in his final year where he doesn't really understand, how his degree in social science is relevant in preparing him for the real world. What can I actually do with that? And that conversation is something that we're having consistently with our students, understanding what the degrees that you're doing at ALU prepare them for in terms of very tangible skills and opportunities that they could get access to. How things like the leadership core give them the kinds of vocabulary understanding to prepare them for different types of career paths. And importantly, to also think about beyond what I want, what does the world require of me? So a lot of people don't have a good grasp of, for example, compensation. We have our own ideas about, I need to get paid X amount because that's the cost of living for me. Well, from an employer standpoint, how do I think about compensation as a reflection of value and relative to other people? So the exposure to the world opens up students' minds to understanding what they can pursue, but also getting a reality check in terms of what the world is going to request of them. Around preparation, I think this is also a really important thing that most universities will have resources for, but students will often only find out about it at the point of need when you're now going out into the real world at graduation. What we do is that from the get-go, when students come through, even from orientation, we start preparing students to understand what is the benchmark of excellence that you need to hit in order to be able to get access to some of the amazing opportunities that you would like to pursue, whether that's with big consulting firms like McKinsey, or whether that's to be an entrepreneur and looking for investor money. What's the benchmark of excellence you need? And how do we start creating avenues for you to prepare to be able to meet those excellence benchmarks on campus? So we run a series of assessments, we'll run workshops, etc., towards that end to help prepare students. Thirdly, opportunities to practice, and this will be familiar to most people on the call. I think the very traditional way in how we do this is connecting students to work experience. How do we put you in a space where you can actually practice your skills in a safe environment, make mistakes, explore different paths without having to commit for the long term, so that you can practice your skills and build up a portfolio. We primarily do this through full-time internships that happen after the academic years, in between them. But we are also started to pilot ways that we can create internship opportunities on campus. So for example, we have on-campus jobs. We started creating and piloting opportunities for students to do part-time internships with external partners. And we've recently also started to launch what are called business challenges. So external organizations have given our students projects to work on, which they've been able to do in groups as a major or across majors as well. So opportunities to practice being a really important space that we can make sure students are growing in their confidence and skills. And lastly is network. I think we'll be lying to ourselves if we didn't think about, within an African context, within a global context, the kind of people that you know open up doors. They open up opportunities, they open up information that people may not have, that definitely set you apart as a leader and help you to be able to reach more people in the way that you impact the continent. So for us, network is particularly important. Over the last year alone, we've brought over 80 people to campus to come and speak to students in intimate groups, as large lecture halls, as part of our entrepreneurship ventures program. And that is a space in which we allow students to then connect very directly with a powerful group of people from the rest of the world, as well as the continent, on a range of different topics that they can deepen their knowledge on, but also to build the kinds of connections that they can tap into over the long term. We've had students who have, after a guest speaker, managed to secure an internship in an international location. And those are the types of ways in which we hope the network will continue to grow and support students. We think, in addition to all these international, guest speakers that we bring, some of the most powerful forms of networks are actually our students on campus. In many ways, we forget that our friends are also representative of different circles, and we've often had spaces that we've curated where students get to share their stories, the things that they're good at, to be able to mentor and support each other, which is a big part of our learning model, looking at how we do peer support. And so that has also been a very powerful way of building networks with our students over the last few years.
Theodore, thanks for giving us a nice introduction and overview of what we do within our team. I think the points that you raise are critical and important, and I think it's important that students start to hear these things now. Just to piggyback of what Theo says, I think, the purpose of our team and success for our team looks like, what that looks like in practice is having students leave ALU as leaders ready to effect change in their communities or in their immediate spheres of influence. What that looks like is that students use internships as learning opportunities, as ways to broaden their scope and their sphere during the time that they're on internships, and look at the career development as a resource beyond a 4-month internship, a 4-month event, but start to tap into us as a lifelong resource, given the skills that we are teaching you. So we've spoken about it on a high level, and I just want to bring it to contextualize some of the data, the work that we've been doing over the last year. So as we currently speak, the career development team at ALU has run 2 internship cycles. The first that was done in between September and December of 2016, and the second that is currently run. As it currently stands, we've had over 300 placements. So we've had students who have worked in over 300 companies. We have had internships across the African continent. We've had interns in the US, in France. 85% of the managers that we've surveyed have said that students met and or exceeded their expectations. And we have 120 and counting employer partners as we currently stand. Now, this data and these statistics look great, but I think, one of our core values at ALUs is that our learning is student-centered and student-driven. So you'll see here, for instance, that we have students who were present in China last year. The story behind the student in China is that 3 years back, he was very, very interested. He started to develop an interest in China, actually found an exchange program there, spent 6 months there studying Mandarin, made some really great connections and networks there, built upon them over the 2 years. Upon arrival in ALU, he leveraged the career development team to coach and mentor him to be able to secure an internship on his own in China. And today we can add that to our statistics because this student is one of our own. So, we will coach you, we will support you, we will give you access to all the opportunities, but the student who goes to MTN versus the student who goes to Clinton Health Access Initiative is really about how the student chooses to sit in the driver's seat and leverage the opportunities that have been given to them. So at ALU, you'll have a blast with our team. We're looking forward to seeing you, looking forward to engaging you. What we will say is this, that we are ready to meet you halfway. As hard as you are willing and able to work, our employers are ready to meet you there. Africa's youth population is supposed to be the largest in the world right now. In countries like Niger, half of the population is under the age of 19. There's a lot of opportunity that is out there on the continent, untapped opportunity, but there's also a lot of competition on the work market. And so we will expect our students to always put their best feet forward and work as hard as they can to be able to attract the best opportunities, bearing in mind that the internship really is an opportunity to learn, to gain exposure, and to practice lifelong skills that would translate into making you a successful change maker in your society once you graduate. Some of the feedback that we've gotten from students here is one from Nini, who interned at the Clinton Health Access Initiative, who said, "I was given the platform to lead myself by being put in charge of a national project, liaison with NGOs, overseeing a team of qualitative interviewers, and managing data collection. Nini, after doing this, is now studying business management and is being able to apply all of the skills that she learned in her internship. She's seen the theories that undergird these skills that she was practicing during her internship. We also have some employer feedback, one from Aisha Bidwell, who is a partner at PwC Ghana, who said, after just one term at ALU, your students are operating at the level of first-year professionals. This, again, is testament to the kinds of students that we attract and the kind of hard work they put, given the opportunities and the access that we give them to prepare them. I don't want to bore you. You're probably really excited to hear from a student who has been through this and can testify to what the work that he's done with career development and tell you more about his internship. So I'll hand you over to Olivier.
Good afternoon, everyone. So as I introduce myself, my name is Olivier Ndiaye, and I'm from Senegal. I'm a second-year student currently studying business management at ALU. And last year, I interned with ENCO Education. So ENCO Education is an African-wide network of international secondary schools. And they offer students across Africa a launchpad to the world's best universities. And ENCO Education is present in different countries around Africa. As you can see on the slide, they are present in South Africa, Mozambique, Cameroon, and Cote d'Ivoire. And last year, they wanted to open in Senegal. My job was basically to help them make that happen by finding out the right partners for them, the right location for them, and also helping them sign contracts and open a bank account and everything that goes on with opening a new school in a country. I was interning alone there with in communication with my manager, who was based in South Africa, the CEO of the company, and it was an amazing experience. Now, how career development was entered into my experience was that they really supported me, first of all, by finding out this opportunity, and second of all, throughout also my internship. So they didn't let me down as just I got my internship and that's it. No, I kept on reaching out to them, and whenever I was confused about certain things, I would just send an email, and shortly they would answer. And really helpful throughout my 4-month internship with ENCO Education, because it really helped me to practice better the skills that I learned during my first year at ALU, during the foundational core, and also get to apply everything that I learned in class, in theory, and put them into practice during that time. And it ties up also to my future, how I'm really passionate about education, and how this internship really helped me broaden my network in terms of education. And now I got to meet many people at the Ministry of Education, for instance, in Senegal, to be more precise. And these are lifelong networks that I believe I can use in the future when I actually go into my job or when I think about excelling in entrepreneurship in terms of education.
Thank you, Mr. Theo, Abba, and Olivier. Just to bring back to what Mr. Theo said, I remember he said about the importance of career development, the importance of internships. And diving deep into internships in ALU, as career in ALU, I remember Abba specifically said, a student is required to take ownership of his journey, and the career development is there to meet them halfway to support, which I think that's the general trend of internships at ALU. Presently, I'm also a student of ALU, currently interning into the recruitment team of the African Leadership University. Yeah. Hey, hi everyone. As I was saying, right, this is Abba, this is Mr. Theo, and that's Olivier, powerful gentleman and a powerful lady. Experts in their field, I must say. I'm actually very happy, like I was saying. They helped me put me through an internship opportunity, which I must say, I've learned a lot, but right now we've had so many questions to our active listeners there, viewers. I would like to move straight to them. So our first question, which it says, do you get the opportunity to change the companies every year, or do you stay in the same company throughout your degree period? So I'll leave that to our experts.
Okay, I think I'll take the question, read it again before responding. Do you get the opportunity to change companies and countries every year, or do we get to stay with the same company and or country for the duration of the degree? Great question. Thanks for the question. As I mentioned during the time that I was speaking, students are expected to drive their career journeys. We would act as a compass to help students navigate their journey. So if a student, for instance, interns, a student like Olivier, interned at ENCO in Senegal last year, and his fire and his passion for education was even fueled some more. He's going back to ENCO this year, not in Senegal, but in Zambia, to continue the work that he was doing with them. There are some students who went on internships and found and learned that actually this is not the field that they wanted to work in. And so this year they are working with us to explore different and new industries that would better enrich their career journeys. So short answer, no, students are not required and or expected to work in the same company and or country every year for the entirety of their degree programs. Students are human beings and are allowed to be flexible and change as they drive their career journeys.
Thank you very much, Abba, for that answer. So hope our listeners were able to get that. Moving to the next question. If you have an internship in another country, who pays for the flight and accommodation?
So maybe giving a little bit more context here to that question. The way that we've been working with placing students in internships across the continent, we've tried to, as much as possible, reduce the visa and financial costs around internships, both for the family as well as for the companies. So we try and place students as much as possible in their home countries, unless where they have also identified that they have easy work permit access to other countries. So in West Africa, for example, ECOWAS or in SADC also have similar visa requirements that make it easier for people to move across areas. The accommodation part has been something that the student will therefore, if they're interning back in their home country, typically will be something that they can stay back at home or with family in the capital city. So that part has been usually something that isn't much of a consideration. The flight is something that the student will cover as part of their coming to ALU. Where the company has offered an internship in a different country and also has provided a flight and accommodation, that has happened and keeps happening every year. So we do advertise those types of opportunities to students as well. And the majority of students do intern back in their own countries.
Thank you, Theodore. Moving to our next question. It says, are there any restrictions on the company's students that's interning?
No, we don't have restrictions. Actually, we are looking quite broadly in thinking through what meaningful work experience is. So last year, we've had students who've interned in multinationals. We've had students intern with large regional companies like Celilant in East Africa. We've had students work with startups or with venture hubs, for example, in Kenya with Nest. And so we don't put restrictions on, even with governments and with the UN, etc., NGOs. So we don't put restrictions. Again, think about it from the principle of our purpose is to help all the young leaders who are part of our community think through and explore the types of spaces that will help them imagine what is possible for them. So we don't limit students in that way. Students, there's a question here about student preference. So how we built the placement process is in such a way that we do get students to be able to share their interests with us. We found, for example, for our first year of operating, the students' interests understandably changed quite rapidly. We have a student who changed, we had many students who changed their interest from wanting to be working in tech to realizing that education was growing and to want to focus on education technology. And then by the time they are in May, they have realized that if they just want to be in education, it doesn't matter about the technology. That's part of the tool that they want to use to transform that space. So interest is something that does factor into the placement process, but it's, especially in the early years, something that we play around to support the students and think differently about how do they build up credibility in different spaces and building up their interest and using these leadership skills, which are actually quite broad-ranging in that field.
Thank you, Mr. Theodore. Moving on to our next question, which I think is a question that so many of our coming students who want to know, will students get paid during their internships?
Good question. It's a good question. Most students will get paid an internship stipend. So the way we partner with, through the ALU internship partners. When we speak to employer partners around the continent, we typically would negotiate with them to give the students a small stipend that will cover at least food and food and transport, for the duration of the internship period, so students are able to complete it. We do have companies that have given unpaid internship opportunities, which students have been ecstatic about if it fits within their interest areas or they really enjoy the kind of learning that they could get from them. So we do build that into the ecosystem. Not all internships are paid as a result, but that is something that students have found ways around, should they be really interested in that type of experience.
I'll just add to that and say that there have been situations where students have been so passionate about certain unpaid opportunities that they've taken up on-campus jobs and have saved up to be able to go to the country and fund their transport and accommodation and food, even in certain cases, to be able to afford that opportunity. I think we within the career development team really focus on learning and exposure and the kind of network that students are able to build during internships. And so we work with students to think creatively of how, in cases where finances are a key determining factor to what companies they can intern in, we make it a priority to work with these students to be able to chart their journeys and be able to afford these internships. I see another question. Does every student get an internship, or is it only selected students? I'll take that question. Every student gets an opportunity at an internship. I think while we do have this internship program, there is an eligibility criteria as to who is eligible for internships. This eligibility criteria, it is that students who are you in good academic standing? Are you in good disciplinary standing? Are you in good financial standing? Internship is part of the services that ALU offers to students, and especially when students are interning with our employer partners, we want to be sure that students are rightly set up for success, that the skills that we tell employers that students have and can practice and can leverage during their internships, that they actually do. So we expect students, as I said, to completely drive that internship journey, to ace their academics while they are here, to be in good academic standing, so we know that employers will also gain value and it will be a mutually beneficial internship. So yes, everyone has an equal opportunity at an internship. Students have to work hard to be able to maintain good academic standing, good disciplinary standing. Speaking on internships and whether every student has an opportunity at an internship, I think it is important to mention that not all students will be interested in an internship in its typical sense. So as my colleague Theodore said, we have been thinking, divergently on what an internship could look like. We know that we have some of our young leaders who are very passionate about the world of education and who would like to carry on to do research. So we are building that in currently with Olivier's deal, who's going on internships in the next 2 months, where students will be able to pilot their academic research and spend the 4 months for the duration of their internship with mentors within and outside of ALU working on their research. And for our students who are very entrepreneurial and would like to start to pilot their ventures and work with them, we are also creating opportunities for students to do that. So in the broad sense of the word, yes, every student has an opportunity to have an internship every year during their time at ALU.
Wow. Thank you, Alva. I can tell that was a lot of information. Moving on to our next question. Is there a work-study program? And what's the plan to help students develop their career development skill during the academic semester?
Pick up quickly on that. So there is a work-study program at ALU that we actually launched last year. The way the program is structured is that different departments on campus, from the administrative side, but also from the academic side, can offer internship opportunities to students on campus, which they will apply to and go through an assessment process The department heads will then select the students who work with them, typically on projects within those teams. We have students, for example, who are running our transport system. So the students, when they are moving from their dorms to campus, etc., they're actually students behind that in terms of managing the logistics. We have students who are doing academic work as TAs, supporting some of our different academic majors within the institution. So the work study program does support our students on campus to be able to learn about professionalism right here, but also to make a little bit of money as well for their benefits and for pocket money. The plan to develop students' careers during the academic semester. So the great thing about ALU is that you are not stuck thinking about your career just during the period of when you're working at an internship. We actually have an entire program that runs over the course of each academic year. Like I was describing earlier, that has a preparation component. So a series of workshops, guest speakers, articles, and thought leadership that we share on campus that helps students start creating space to think about and engage on the topics of their careers. And importantly, to have office hours where they can come and get career coaching from us as well. We've offered in the past a series of personality tests, career assessments that help students to really grapple with who I've become, something that they also get from the entrepreneurial leadership class, etc. And really bring that all together to think about a larger journey within the context of leadership, within the context of a career. And many careers at that. Sometimes people are not necessarily choosing one path. So helping students think through that is something that we've done both during the internship year as well as during when the students are on campus.
Thank you. I think we've handled questions perfectly. Moving into our next questions, internships mandatory? What's mandatory?
I'll take that. So as you mentioned earlier on, internships are a core part of our program here at ALU. At ALU, our students are learning for 7 months and on internships are learning for 8 months and on internships for 4 months. Internships are a part of student graduation criteria, students' eligibility to graduate. So during each intensive season, students must work for at least a period of 8 weeks. Between 8 and 12 weeks, students must work. So yes, internships are mandatory. Students who do nothing might not be able to graduate if they haven't completed the hours, the time that they need to be in internships for the duration of their time to graduate.
Thank you. When you're talking about internships being mandatory during school periods, I want to also find out, after my graduation, will you guys still offer me some help? Moving to the next question. Basically says, do you guys still have to offer me internships after graduation?
Great segue. Great segue on that. It's a great question. I think, in going back to what Theo and I both discussed initially, the career development team is here to set students up for career success. We are not just here to help students find internships for internships. There's only up to, you can, even if students decide to do 2 internships during each internship season, students can only do 8 internships during the entire period. But you literally have the rest of your life to be able to work, continue to explore, to grow in your interests, and continue to effect change in your spheres of influence. So yes, with the skills that we support and provide students with at ALU, and with the experience that they have, by the time students are ready to graduate, they would have enough of a proven track record, and enough of the skills that they need to find their own jobs. Yes, in their senior years, we will still act as a career development team in helping and liaising with students who have proven to step up to the opportunity when it's presented to help them find jobs. So, do you want to add to that?
No, that's a good point. I was going to build on to that. And again, I think when you hear about ALU, we always talk about life in 50-year windows. So we are setting up 25 campuses around Africa in 50 years. We're talking about leadership, which is not something that is ending when you are graduating from university. I think a key part of ALU is also just recognizing that even after you graduate, there are still a ton of organizations that we're still in touch with on a day-to-day basis as much as we're talking to them about internships, they are also looking to hire entry-level people. They're looking to hire new managers, etc. And I think the AOU brand, like Abba was talking about earlier, is something that has built up quite rapidly, that employers have been excited about. It's a brand that we hope to continue building and leveraging on, so that even as alumni, we can keep giving access to job opportunities that employers are sharing with us. It's something that therefore helps us as a university tie right back to the focus of how do we keep supporting people on their leadership journeys, even into the long term.
Yeah, and I think one thing that would be very, very, very great to see is how we leverage alumni to become employer partners as well, to be able to support current students and pay it forward with the students that we will have in the coming years. So yes, definitely looking to engage with alumni in different ways.
Thank you, guys. So far we're talking about internship placements, and I think someone from the audience has asked a very important questions. Have there been any opportunity where a student doesn't get an internship?
We've had, so this question is taken with a grain of salt. Like Abba was saying, there's an eligibility criteria for us to be comfortable as an organization pitching you on our behalf. So if you're not failing classes, you will be fine. AOU will continue to support you. But for students who haven't met our eligibility criteria, we have had in the past year a few students who did not get placed through AOU. That did not mean that they didn't end up going to do an internship. Most of them are actually out already doing internships that they've sourced using our preparation. We don't limit our preparation support for students. We do limit placement support for students who are not hitting certain minimum thresholds. So that should clarify that question.
Moving to our next question. What are some of the problems faced by new students in regards to career?
It's an interesting question. Can I ask you as a new student?
Well, for me, like I said in my presentation, I'm really pleased with Theo and Abba. They actually know how to set you through, you understand you, and so far as a new student, I would say you basically have nothing to fear. They guide you, they welcome you, and they let you go to where your heart wants to go. Like if you're passionate about something, all you have to do is tell them. As they said, firstly, you have to take ownership of your journey. Make sure you're searching. Then next, if you have difficulties, they'll come to you and help you. Basically, that's what I'm saying.
Thank you. Just to be very nice. When you come to AOU, we'll talk. But if I was to respond to the question about common problems with challenges, perhaps the better word, common challenges with new students, I'd say they actually mostly fall along the lines of self-confidence. We had a session with a couple of students a few weeks back where we had spoken with them about the fact that it is possible for you as a student to reach out for an organization and actually get an answer. Our students at the time, a few of them were feeling like, only AOU can do that. There's no way that this big company would ever listen to me. After the workshop, one student approached Ms. Abba, I think it was after the event, and started saying, look, actually there's this company that I've thought of approaching, but we just wasn't sure, and I don't know that they will ever respond to me. I'm a first year student, why would they ever do that? Abba coached her through it and talked about how you could structure a meaningful email that will actually get your response, what to put in the title, talk through all of that language. Student goes back, sends the email, and then on Monday, the week after.
She didn't wait till Monday the week after. No, you got the story wrong. So this was Friday at about 12 noon when we had this session with this student who was very nervous and clearly not confident enough in the skills that she had and what value she could present to the company. 6 p.m. we're late in the office, just bantering, talking about how we're preparing for the email. For the weekend, we get an email from the students. Thank you so much for today. I would have never done it without you. They just emailed me back. They need, 1, a certificate to show that I'm a student at ALU. 2, they need confirmation that I passed my classes. 3, they need this. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think you get the point now. She was clearly very, very excited. Would have never thought that the company would have responded with the speed that they did respond. The guy that she emailed actually said, send me all of this and start the online application, put my name as a referral person, someone to refer you. This person was speaking as a senior manager within the company. As we currently speak, she has interviews set up for next week, and this is an opportunity in Switzerland. So next year by this time, when we're doing this presentation, you'll see one more country, which is Switzerland, on a list, not because we did anything, but because the student sat in the driver's seat and was willing to imbibe all of the coaching that we were giving her and took a shot.
Yeah, I'd like to pick up on that. We could probably go on telling a few more stories like that, but I can see they are flagging to us to end time, so we'll speak more a little later. But I think what's important to remember about this confidence piece is that as an organization and an education institution that's focused on developing leaders, skills is an important part of being competent, but the confidence piece is also just as important. And it's something that we see consistently in our students as, perhaps a sign of humility, but something that we want to continue being conscious of. How do we build up the confidence to believe that they are capable of transforming Africa, of doing seemingly small things that could have massive impact for themselves and for others? So it's something that we hope that we will continue to engage you on as people who are hopefully joining us on campus soon. But even if you don't, just thinking about that as how do I build up my self-confidence and my leadership within the school context and without.
Yeah, and I just like to piggyback on what you said. I think confidence is important, but I think character, broadly speaking, is even more important. In engaging with employers and engaging with HR personnel, directors, CEOs from across the continent and even beyond, people are always willing to work with people who are coachable, who are teachable, who have solid character traits, who are disciplined and are willing to work hard, as opposed to people who come in talented. They are willing to work with people who demonstrate that they are willing and able to learn and are humble enough to ask when they don't know, as opposed to people who might already have skills but are not willing to learn from anybody. So just piggybacking on confidence and saying that I think it goes with character more broadly, and is something that we as a career development team hold in very, very high esteem, because we like to see professionals, young professionals, who are confident in the skills that they have, but are also humble enough to recognize that they are only now starting their journeys, and so are willing to learn with any kind of opportunity that is given to them. Also in the context of the fact that the job markets, the job search landscape across the continent is very, very highly competitive.
I mean, just picking up onto what Ms. Abaja said actually was how when you get into an internship, go with a beginner mindset. That's what she's saying, and that's basically the advice career development is always giving us. And all the challenges actually you might face thousands and thousands of challenges. But those challenges will actually become learning opportunities, because you come with a beginner mindset. You are stuck with this. You're like, what do I do here? And then it becomes a lesson for you. You become like stronger to developing your skills and competencies.
Thank you guys for your sharing. I mean, that was some teamwork shared to us. Moving to our next question. We know earlier on you guys have spoken about campus jobs. So let's take you back a little bit. What are the kind of campus jobs, like you would to tell about campus jobs you guys offer to the various things?
I think we have an example of someone who has had campus jobs. Olivier here has had, I think, two so far. So maybe Olivier can speak on what are the opportunities on campus.
The opportunity is actually very diverse. We have the RA program, for instance, which is now a campus job, and we have. The RA program is the residential advisor program, where the student is basically responsible of taking care of their fellow students and assisting them in terms of, have anything that they will need help on campus throughout their stay. And we also have other opportunities such as the career development team. They have interns. So students get to actually mentor other students, and before that, they're actually trained to actually mentor their fellow students in terms of helping them with putting the resume to a standard that employers will just see it and be like, wow, this is what I'm looking for. And I feel like that's the standard we've been keeping up with the career development team. Other example of campus job includes but are not limited to the admission team, and also the marketing team that look out for students who actually are good in photography, for instance. So they go around and take pictures and stuff for the admission team, the marketing team.
Now moving to our next question, just a little bit about what are the various internship activities, like what are some of the things students get to do during internship, track the activities. That's nice.
Okay. So during the internship season, we run in parallel 2 forms of support. One is a student-facing support for the person who's actually going on the internship, and the second is support for their internship manager. So for the students, we provide them a sample of an onboarding guide. What does it take to actually learn quickly about the organization so you can get settled in a way to be able to start working effectively? We go on to then support our students with monthly newsletters that give them at different points in their internship journey a sense of what should they expect from the next season, how can they engage, how can they reach out to us for help, and what are the things that their peers are doing so they know who else they can reach out to for support. So for example, we've had our students reach out saying, hey, we need help with financial modeling. And we're able to then connect that student to Olivier, saying, actually, we've also gotten word of Olivier who's been doing financial modeling at his workplace. So they're able to work closely in that way. As the internship season progresses, we've had several opportunities to have calls with students when they needed to be able to actually talk through challenges that might come up. Your manager gives you an assignment that you're not comfortable with, or you don't know how to start, or you are experiencing difficulty being able to come to work on time and you want to talk about time management. So there have been a range of ways in which our students have been able to reach out to us in the systems that we built out, which are called internship support during that season. For the internship managers, what we also do is almost an onboarding for them about how to manage and support young people to be able to do their best in the workplace. So this entire support system that helps the manager know, okay, how could you, before the student arrives, what are some of the things that are helpful to do and to have in place so that when they come in day 1, they feel settled and they know how things will actually work out. What are some of the things that need to happen in terms of having one-on-one conversations to sit down with the student and map out a personal development plan that will help them actually get value from this internship opportunity and create space for feedback, which is really important as part of our learning model as well. So the internship support during the period goes both for students and for the internship managers. It culminates or ends where the student will do a self-evaluation of the internship experience in terms of how did I demonstrate skills that I learned on campus within the last few months? And importantly, what does that mean for the kind of leader that I want to become? How does this inform my leadership journey? For the manager, they will also do assessments that help give the student feedback in terms of their performance, in terms of how they demonstrated character at the workplace, and the values that they demonstrated, and actually give them a rating scale. So students have a really good sense of leaving this internship, what are some of the things that I need to work on? What are the strengths that I may not have known I had that my manager has now flagged and brought to my attention? So that's what the internship support season looks like and the way that it culminates, starting up your new year when you come back to campus with a really good sense of when I was in my first year, these are all the things I learned, this is the ways in which I was able to apply it. And importantly, I've learned how to then set myself up for a new season of academic growth.
So moving on to the next question for the evening. Are internships tailored towards the degree program or are they just general internships?
So we've structured the degree program started this year with our class, and we are approaching this with a bit of a mindset of piloting as the students are growing and based on the feedback that we're working on together. So we have a very co-founder based approach with our first class of students in the degree program. Some of our students in the different majors are not necessarily looking to become technical experts in that area. So for example, we just surveyed our engineering class, and almost 40% of them want to become entrepreneurs. Now, an engineer, when you hear an engineer, you usually think that somebody wants to be on the oil rig or like building the machines. What they want to be is the person who's building the company and hiring the other engineers to be the technical people. But they want to be smart enough to understand what's happening so that they know when they're being cheated, they know how to set up the company right. And so the engineering skill set that they're learning in class is not to become a technical person as much as it is to become an informed entrepreneur. Now, because of the diversity of people that we're attracting, people want to be academics, people who want to be to go on to graduate school afterwards, people who want to become entrepreneurs, people who want to become corporates, people who want to become politicians. Each of the different majors have somebody attached to them from the career development team who can help them think through their career paths and at different stages of their growth, think about what internship makes sense, given where they're at. So that's how I respond to that question around the majors, and they are not necessarily tied to internships. They could be, but it's not something that we define for students.
Thank you very much. Thank all those that are here to watch us. But unfortunately, we'll have to end here. You know, for any further questions, email us at admissions@aoeducation.com. Please note that French questions will also be answered. So there's no language barriers as regards to questions. Also,
I have one last thing to say. I know that there were some parents in the audience. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that these questions have been insightful in calming you down and ensuring you that we know what we are doing and have great plans for your awards. If you would also like to partner with us as employer partners, please do feel free. Yes, I will have a shameless plug. Feel free to reach out to us at employerpartner@aolueducation.com. We've started to see that more and more parents, more and more employer partners, after having hosted ALU students, have sent the awards to come to ALU. We think that it's great value and it's a way for you to experience us in a different way. So we would love to partner you. Send us an email at employerpartner@aolueducation.com and we'll be happy to get you into the process of supporting and paying it forward to yet another young African.
thank you. Thank you for the information, Abba. So thank you, Mr. Pio. Thank you, Olivier. I mean, I've been a humble host. Gislen, and you know, I hope, like Abba said, we'll be able to answer you so many questions. So with that being said, I think we'll have to end here. Wish you all a great day for those that is still afternoon, and good night for those that are here.
We look forward to seeing you on campus in September, and for the English immersion students, very, very soon. Have a good day.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Ciao.